Great. Okay, can everyone see this slide of a big lemon, okay? Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Dr. Gabby Olavarrieta, and I am a postdoc at the University of Nevada, Reno, under Dr. Lorraine Benuto, and work for the DICE lab. Today, I'll just be talking a little bit about kids' COVID and stress, as well as covering some coping strategies that could be helpful to utilize for both students or kids and parents. This is just kind of a funny meme that I think represents how a lot of us might feel. So of course, if your chest tightness and difficulty breathing, that's a sign of anxiety, but oftentimes this can freak people out and they might think they have COVID. But so first I'm going to go over a little bit of some statistics on mental health and COVID specifically. So as we can see on the table on the left, out of 5,470 people who responded to a survey in June, 40% of people reported a detrimental mental or behavioral health condition. 31% reported symptoms of anxiety or depressive symptoms. 26% reported trauma, stressor-related disorder symptoms related to COVID-19. And this can be seen, an example could be somebody staying in an abusive household more often because they're unable to go outside or go to school or escape some kind of abusive environment in the home. 13% reported having started or increased substance use to cope with stress or emotions that were related to COVID-19. And 11% of people reported having seriously considered suicide in the preceding 30 days at the time the survey was completed. And then as we can see on the table on the right, which focuses on comparing mental health in children in 2017 versus 2020, rates of mental disorders have increased since 2017. And in 2020, 1 in 6 children aged 5 to 16 years were identified as having a probable mental disorder, increasing from 1 in 9 in 2017. And so this increase was evident in both boys and girls, as we can see in the different, the columns on this table, boys to the left and girls to the right. And so this was just important to go over just to show how COVID has increased mental health problems and the importance of seeking support, mental health support, and utilizing certain coping strategies. And so specifically, we're going to go over mental health and distance learning in kids. There's no question that the pandemic has been hard on children and parents. There's been a flood of research in recent months, which has found alarming spikes in depression and anxiety among children and their parents. Multiple studies have found that students, especially those with disabilities and from low-income families, are learning less than they should. A new study that was conducted from NBC News and Challenge Success is one of the first to shed light on the differences between students whose classes have been exclusively online and those who've been able to attend in person at least one day per week. And so the survey was conducted last fall and consisted of more than 10,000 students in 12 US high schools. And they found that students who'd spent time in the classroom reported lower rates of stress and worry than their online peers. 84% of remote students reported exhaustion, headaches, insomnia, or other stress-related ailments, compared to 82% of students who were in the classroom on some days and 78% of students who were in the classroom full time. And so now for mental health and distance learning for parents. Additionally, more than half of all parents that were surveyed in March and April said they experienced significantly higher levels of stress due to a child's struggle with distance learning. And this was according to the American Educational Research Association's Distance Learning and Parental Mental Health During COVID-19 report. As a result, these parents are more likely to experience depression, have trouble sleeping, or have little interest or pleasure in doing things. And the study found that heightened levels of mental distress were felt by parents across all socioeconomic categories, regardless of family income or the number of days that had passed since school closure. Students' academic success ultimately relies on their parents' emotional health during this fragile time, which sets the learning environment for their children. And without proper support, both parents and students will likely suffer. So, for example, 81% of parents whose child struggled online reported feeling depressed, compared to 59% of parents whose children did not struggle. So we can see that's a pretty big disparity. Educators, a way to kind of mitigate these struggles, educators can conduct ongoing check-ins to monitor how families are coping and to determine whether, there needs to be additional academic or social emotional resources. Schools, for example, can offer virtual mental health services to parents. This forum is a great example of offering support for parents in Washoe County. And, this level of support enables parents to reinforce the efforts of the teachers, many of whom are stretched thin and may be experiencing burnout. And so it's crucial for parents to be open about their needs and to communicate with their schools when they need additional help. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about it's called the Diathesis stress model. And so this is a psychological theory that posits that disorders result from an interaction between inherent vulnerability or genetic traits and environmental stressors. So, if we are vulnerable to something, it means we're more likely to be affected by it or have a predisposition for it. So some people might be biologically vulnerable to certain physical illnesses, such as heart disease or asthma. And similarly, people can have vulnerabilities with mental health. So and an example of an environmental stressor that affects physiological responses is caffeine. So caffeine has been found to increase cortisol response, which is the chemical that's released when we are really when we're stressed out. And so, cortisol response is a response to a given environmental stressor, which can make our reaction to the stress feel more out of control. And so the diathesis or predisposition ends up interacting with the individual's stress response. And so, as we know, stress is a life event or series of events that kind of disrupts our psychological balance and can, result in the development of a disorder, especially if it becomes chronic, meaning that it's present every day for very extended periods of times. And so the diathesis stress model explores how biological or genetic traits interact with environmental influences or stressors to produce disorders such as depression and anxiety. And so the diathesis stress model asserts that if the combination of the predisposition and the stress exceeds a threshold, the person will develop a disorder. So this, I talked about this briefly just to show the connection between, physiological responses, genetic makeup, plus stress could lead to mental health problems in both parents and in children. And so, of course, stress has a very large impact on the body. It causes us to have difficulty concentrating, increased anxiety, irritability. It can lead to cardiovascular problems such as higher cholesterol, high blood pressure, increased risk of heart attack and stroke. We can even see increased inflammation, tension, aches, and pains in our joints and our muscles. It can weaken our immune system and make us more prone to contract any kind of illness, get colds easier. It affects our skin, hair loss, brittle nails, acne, delayed tissue repair. So it really wreaks havoc on kind of every aspect of our bodies. And so this is just important to show that stress isn't just a mental state or mental disorder. It also can very much impact our bodies and how we function. So now to get into some of the coping strategies that can be utilized with certain levels of stress. So here we have level 1 stress, and this can be, everyday life stressors such as sitting in traffic every day, or becoming stressed out because there's a bunch of errands that you need to run, as well as dealing with distance learning. And so first, it's really helpful when you start to feel this way, like kind of stressed out and overwhelmed, but not to the point where you're like freaking out, but just you're starting to feel stress and you're starting to feel it in your body. It's really helpful to calm your physiology so you can reverse your stress response. And so when your stress response is triggered, you process information differently and you can feel physically and emotionally taxed. And so if this state is prolonged, it can escalate to chronic stress. And so one useful tip to calm yourself is to go to a quiet place if you can and take deep, long breaths. Breathe in, hold for 5 seconds, and then exhale slowly, and repeat this several times. And the point of it is to take your time with breathing in and holding it and breathing out. And it may sound cheesy, but doing these deep breaths actually forces your body to calm down. It's a physiological response when we take deep breaths and exhale out. And so this exercise really helps soothe your nerves, slow a racing heart. Other calming strategies might include meditation or aromatherapy, like smelling lavender or something like that. Mindfulness exercises have been proven to be extremely effective to managing stress or other mental health issues. And so mindfulness is a mental state achieved by focusing on one's awareness on the present moment while kind of calmly acknowledging that you're having certain negative thoughts or that maybe you're experiencing certain physical sensations associated with stress. But the big thing is to not place judgment on these feelings and reactions in yourself, but just to acknowledge them and, keep breathing and forcing your body to calm down. There's a lot of guided meditations you can find online. A really famous one is Leaves on a Stream, which asks you to visualize a leaf on a stream and placing your thoughts on that leaf as it goes down the stream. So really focusing on being aware that you're having a certain thought, having a certain physical sensation, and then kind of acknowledging it without judgment and then letting it go. And so guided meditation can really help with that. Other calming and coping skills are self-soothing techniques are really great. So level 2 stress can be like, my kid is screaming and I'm just really, really stressed out, but I have to function and I have no choice but to deal with what is happening. I can't really remove myself type thing. And so grounding techniques are very helpful when these feelings arise. Grounding techniques is a coping strategy that is designed to ground you in or immediately connect you with the present moment. So similar to mindfulness. And these techniques often use the 5 senses, so sound, touch, smell, taste, and sight, to immediately connect you with the here and the now. So singing a song, rubbing lotion on your hands, or sucking on sour candy are all grounding techniques that produce sensations that are difficult to ignore or distract you from what's going on in your mind. One of my personal favorites is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. So this is, can be done anywhere. You just force yourself to identify 5 things you can see in your immediate surroundings, 4 things you can feel physically. So maybe like your, a sweater against your skin, your feet on the ground. 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and then 1 thing you can taste. And so this is grounds you back to the present moment and will allow you to then be able to deal with the situation at hand more effectively and more calmly. And then there at level 3 stress. So this can be like full-blown panic mode. This can accompany feelings like, I need to get out of this situation. I am so stressed out. I'm going to cry. Or, if anyone's had like panic attacks, those feelings of just feeling really out of control and that you can't control your bodily sensations, that's panic mode. And so this is when we're in panic mode, the hormone adrenaline just floods into our bloodstream. It puts our bodies on high alert. Your heartbeat quickens, which sends more blood to your muscles, and then your breathing becomes fast and shallow. So you can't take in as much oxygen, and then your blood sugar also spikes. So that's what's kind of happening in your body when you're in panic mode. And then obviously mentally you're thinking, maybe catastrophic thoughts like nothing's going to get better. I don't know what to do. And so tip skills are extremely helpful to be used in a crisis. And this can calm things down to the point that we can then use other coping skills. And so TIP stands for temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and paired muscle relaxation. So temperature is big. You want to change your body temperature. You could splash your face with cold water, hold an ice cube, let car AC blow on your face, take a cold shower. So you kind of want to shock your system, kind of. Intense exercise matching your intense emotion can really help. So sprint to the end of the street, do jumping jacks, push-ups, and intense dancing. Paced breathing. So box breathing, you want to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. So that's, you can visualize a box in your head while you're doing that kind of exercise. There's paired muscle relaxation. So you want to focus on one muscle group at a time, such as clenching your fists for 5 seconds and then releasing it. And you can do that in different parts of your body. And so those are all geared towards calming your body down, because oftentimes when we're feeling physical sensations, it actually makes our thoughts become worse, because we might be thinking, oh my God, I feel like I can't breathe. I'm going to die. And obviously having those thoughts makes it worse. So by targeting your body, it can also calm your thoughts down. And so the dive reflex is.
Gabriela, I just want to notice the time really quick. I'm so sorry. It's such an interesting presentation, and I feel like we're getting so much out of it. But I know that we've scheduled until 8, and so I'm not sure if the room continues. But I just wanted to make sure if folks had questions, is there a way to get in touch with you or get a hold of you that maybe you could put that in the